All right, 7 o'clock. Let's call the town board meeting to order for November 7th, 2022. First item on the agenda. Patrick, we have some additions.
Yep, Mr. Chair, if it pleases the board, please strike under new business 8A. Capital Partners will not be appearing here tonight, and the board will not be considering the final plat of the Polar Industrial Project until we have a development agreement in place. And they are fine with that. We're going to be working through a smaller committee to iron out the kinks before we bring it to you anyway. I thought it was far more efficient than working through the minutia in a public meeting. So, and then please add under new business C, Wiper Lake Area Hockey Association request. And D, under new business, Corridors of Commerce letter of support. Mr. Ruzek's favorite organization, Ramsey County.
All right, the board have anything else?
Nope, not me.
Hearing none, I need a motion to amend the agenda.
I'll move to amend the agenda as outlined by the clerk.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Item 3, I need approval of payment of the bills. Mr. Ruzek.
I've signed those. I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? And item 4, approval of minutes of October 17th, 2022. Anybody have any
Chair.
corrections?
And the board, we did have one correction called in by Mr. Ruzek. Staff has corrected the typo that he cited.
Very
Scott,
minor.
anything?
So I'll move to approve the minutes of the October 17th, 2022 meeting with note that the typo was taken care of.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 That motion carries. All right, item 5 is consent agenda. What do we got, about 10 of them here? 11? Board wish to review any, or do I have a motion to approve?
I will move to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. Moving on, item 6, old business, we have none. 7 is public hearings, we have none. 8A, we've continued, so we'll go to 8B, the Township Safe at Work Policy. Patrick, you can go over that?
I sure can, Mr. Chair. So as we've moved out of the Governor of Minnesota's emergency declaration during the COVID pandemic, the township is no longer required to carry a COVID at work policy. So I worked with Patrick Kelly last week and shamelessly stole a safe at work policy from OSHA that will cover the workplace and is a little more conscientious about if you're staying away from work. The other thing is it does grant a little extra flexibility to me to manage how the rest of our staff is going to use the rest of their COVID leave. If you'll recall, back at the beginning of the pandemic, we kind of left it as an open book as to what you could utilize your COVID leave time for. If you had a family member that was sick, you could use it. If you were going out of state to a state that was high in COVID, you could use it to stay away from work. And it was much more flexible. But if the board so chooses to pass this new work policy, the first thing I'm doing tomorrow is issuing a memo that ties back to our new policy that requires that the COVID leave time that remains on the books for any of our staff may only be used strictly for positive COVID tests. We had some abuse, I would say, of our time that we granted, and we're just tightening it up now that that no longer continues.
Does every employee have to sign off on this?
Yep.
And what's the time frame for that?
We are going to be starting our performance evaluations here in the next 10 to 14 days. As part of that process, this will be added to our new personnel policy, which they annually sign off on anyway.
Steve?
No, I think it's prudent to implement this change.
I agree. Yep. It's time to tighten it back up.
Well, I don't know if you can get any more strict than OSHA.
That's what we thought.
All right, so you want two separate motions here?
Yes, please.
Well, the first is adopt the resolution.
I'll move to adopt a resolution sunsetting the current COVID-19 preparedness plan and adopting a communicable disease and safe at work policy.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion carries.
And I'll make a second motion to adopt the White Bear Township Safe Workplace Policy.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, moving on. Item C is the White Bear Lake Hockey Association.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I did give the board email correspondence between myself and Nick Anthony, speaking on behalf of the Hockey Association. They are looking to request that the township consider, through Hockey Day Minnesota, leaving the rink itself that's going to be used for the main event up for an extra week so that they may host their winter blast, which is for the little guys to play in the following weekend. As I explained to you at our executive committee, they are going to assume liability for this. They are going to assume utility expense in the way of lighting, and they are going to be the ones that are going to maintain the rink. So it's very little labor involved or commitment involved on the part of the township, other than we're going to keep the rink on our soccer fields an extra week, essentially. So with this outline of what I've provided you here, I'd like permission to draft something legal with the help of Chad or Patrick to bind this if we're philosophically in favor.
Are these dates correct with Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Yes.
What about, I'm just looking here, what about Hockey Days is over on the 29th?
Yep, that's
Right.
that's the
So
Sunday.
it's going to sit empty 30, 31st,
So what's going
1st and 2nd?
to happen is they're just going to use those either for smaller hockey games, scrimmages, or practices, essentially. No events other than that.
Whose liability is picking those days up?
It'll probably be the associations.
Okay.
But we can outline that.
If they're in charge of it, yeah, I think that should be included. Philosophically, I'm in agreement from my perspective with this, as long as they provide the liability protection that we need.
Yep.
And get all the approvals for the food vendors. They're talking food trucks, which is the Department of Health, I think.
Yep,
They have
through the
to-
county.
Through the county. Fire pits and smoke machines, White Bear Police Department, Fire Department's gonna need to make sure that they're satisfied.
So in our committee that we've been working in, the fire department as well as police have been involved. And they will help us with this event, continuing it. So what I would suggest is that Chad and I, over the next couple of weeks, put together something that outlines everything that you're talking about here, and then we just add or amend to it however you see fit.
And who would, in your thought process, who's gonna be in charge of determining whether they need assistance for snow removal, et cetera, that you've outlined here? That, to me, should be clearly spelled out. If they're saying, we want you to do it, versus us just deciding to do it, then they'll say, well, we didn't tell you to do it. The
It's a good point.
proof is in the details
Yep.
of what needs to be done.
I think that's a good point.
No, as long as the event is held for the Hockey Day Minnesota before that, and if the equipment and stuff are there, and it's not damaging it any more than it's going to be, and that goes with that cleanup after that event also, that they have to be responsible for
And this is all
that.
weather contingent too.
Sure, of course.
I don't think we're, and that goes on both ends of the spectrum. If we're running in the 50s in January, we got a problem, and I just don't know how we pull it off even for the main event, to be honest. And on the other side of that, if we're subarctic and we're 20 below zero, that tournament the following weekend is going to be canceled anyway.
Yeah.
So
And then there is a fee, and I think our policy has a
The rental.
a rental fee, so,
Yep, we would cite that as well.
okay. I have no more questions.
I guess the only question I had is about one of the tents being left in place. Is that something we would control, or is that Hockey Day Minnesota's tent?
That's their tent.
So they'd have to coordinate with Hockey Day
Yes,
Minnesota. Okay.
that's not ours.
Okay.
By the way, they have built a shelter out there if you haven't seen it.
As Ed was saying, got the boards up, so I need to go look.
If there's going to be no activities at night after hockey days, so obviously we don't have to worry about lights out there. Are we going to have Public Works barricade the driveway at a certain time so we don't have hooligans out there?
That's a distinct possibility. I mean, people do that.
I mean, but once they know it's there, well, at least it'll keep them from driving up there.
Yeah. It might not be a bad idea, Ed. I know we've got
If nothing else to say, it's posted, it's barricaded, at least let them know that they're not supposed to be up there.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And with the county sheriffs patrolling around there, maybe they could
The extra swing. or two in
swing
there,
through
yeah.
there.
Maybe I'll
'Cause
have.
that presence will hopefully deter people too.
Maybe I'll see if I can have them locate at our office at their lobby for that week too, when they're doing their work. So.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to get something in writing from the association to you guys, so you didn't think that I was just making this all up.
Would you do that?
But Chad and I will get something to you here.
Well, this is just informational. We'll wait till we get a final
Yep.
contract, then we can approve it.
Just talking about it in philosophy right now. I think it's a great deal. If those kids get out there on that rink, they will have a blast.
All right, any other questions, comments? Otherwise, moving on to item 8D is the 35E Conroe J Exchange.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Board, I handed out a memo from Scott Merrick, who is with Ramsey County, asking for a letter of support, of which an example has been provided by Anoka County. They just they provided a template of this letter, and we could just plug in Whiteburg Township where it's pertinent, and that's about it. But considering the interrelations with Ramsey County over the last couple of years, I did want to bring this to your attention to see if the board was interested in providing such letter of support. We all look over there.
Why are you looking at me?
Take it away.
I have my concerns with how the county has handled a lot of these projects, but in general, I think this is a needed change that should have been done years ago, in my own opinion. So I don't have no problem supporting that. We haven't picked any design. It's
Nope.
just a matter that we feel it's a necessity for our growth and development.
Yeah,
And so I'll leave it at that.
okay. Very tactful, sir.
Thank you.
Well, I think this letter from Anoka County says it best.
Yep.
It says, supports the advancement of the improvements, so.
Can't you just send in a one sentence letter saying, sounds like a good idea? I mean, that's essentially what this is.
Mr. Gift of Gab, are you?
I guess you're right. What was I thinking?
Excuse me. I think this letter from Anoka County, I'll just plug in our stuff and send it on. It's a good letter.
Yeah.
Hate to admit it, but it is.
And probably they copied it from somebody else.
Probably right.
Well,
With the board's blessing, I would like to.
because obviously, don't they want one from North Oaks and Lino Lakes, obviously? Because this is just from the county.
Yep.
And does that mean for sure that Mr. Brian Isaacson is now our new Public Works Director for Ramsey County?
They took away the interim tag.
That's a job, you're just waiting for a bus.
Oh yeah.
All right, again, you just for information only, you'll draft up something I don't know, the board want to see it before it's sent off?
If the board, if it's their pleasure, I'll just plug in our stuff here. and it's
Perfect.
fine. All good. Okay. Good. Thank you.
All right. Let's move on to item 9, add agenda items. We just did those. 10 is open time, and it looks pretty open here.
I'll make your plug for voting.
Yep, yeah. All right, I need a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's made second, we're adjourned at 7:15.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.